A very warm welcome to IDFC First Bank Presents Leaders of Tomorrow Season 12. I'm Ritwika Gupta. Tonight on the hot seat is a global company that needs no introduction, DHL Express. And we'll be talking about India's logistics sector, sustainability, the role of SMEs and technology. In conversation tonight with RS Subramanian, Senior Vice President, South Asia, DHL Express. Mr. Subramanian, thank you so much for being on ET Now Leaders of Tomorrow. It's a pleasure to be chatting with you today.
Absolutely fantastic, Ritvika. Happy to be back.
Absolutely. So, sir, I want to begin by asking you your take on India's logistic industry, which is evolving. There are a lot of infrastructural projects, the Delhi-Mumbai, industrial corridor that's underway, the Bharatmala project, Sagarmala project. So, what is your take on it, and how is this going to really transform the industry?
Okay, I think as normally they say, in logistic industry has come a long way. Yeah, I think many things are happening simultaneously. Some real hard foundation work is happening, which is physical and what you can see. Delhi-Mumbai corridor is an example, but it is just one of the examples. But I think the network of highways and connectivity which is happening across the country is really fantastic. Then there is work happening on 80 to 90 airports. Yeah, every airport worth mentioning is in some form of a phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, and there are some new airports coming. So therefore the aviation capability is going up. Bharatmala, Sagarmala is one, but in general the multimodal connectivity is significantly going up, but that's the hard part.
Right.
And if you see the softer side of it, which is I think the National Logistics Policy or the Gati Shakti or the UDAN program, which is relating to the aviation sector. All of them, I think, play significantly together. Usually the challenge in Indian infrastructure is that by the time the infrastructure comes, it's full on day one. Yeah, I think finally we are in a position with layers and layers of infrastructure projects running. We possibly will have a little bit of a runway, but I think we're still some distance away. But what this will do is that it will cut down run time, it will cut down dwell time. Typically people think that reducing cost of operation is like chopping off some price, but it's efficiency, right?
Yeah.
Your goods is lying around for a day or 2 or 3, and it has to be stored and handled multiple times. All of this is cost.
Yeah.
If things are happening double quick, then that's speed, and that speed gives you cost efficiency. And this is where the efficiency needed for the industry will get discovered. I think if you look back 5 years to now, already the distances are 30, 40, 50% faster. And I think this is where the success for the industry is coming, and logistics industry is catching up with the requirements of the different sectors of the society and industry. And I think this is for no rightfully called the sunrise sector. Yeah,
right.
Things have just started happening.
Absolutely. Just shifting gears a bit from logistics to talking about e-commerce, because every time I have a chat with you, we always touch on these two things. E-commerce, tell me, where are the biggest trends you're seeing, and also the rise of quick commerce, is it here to stay?
I think e-commerce, the right thing to say is that the industry and the sector will eventually go where the customer wants to go. For some time, I think the innovators and entrepreneurs and people who create technology and the startups will lead customer thinking, and finally customer will take them where they want to take them. What do I mean by that? I think the quick commerce formats are still getting discovered. Sure. Yeah, you had some early movers, somebody else came and upstaged them, and there are a few more people working to upstage them, and there are different varieties of formats and models being discovered. At some level it is changing the way either the logistics service provider or the people who are in the supply chain of quick commerce industries have to adapt, either in terms of physical formats or the technology and the promise which is being made to the customer. I think all the stakeholders are in dynamic action to be able to fulfill the customer need. But eventually the customer's judgment, in my opinion, will stay, which is if the customer finally is willing to pay for the service which is being offered to them and make the quick commerce companies viable, then I think we are there to stay.
Fantastic. Technology and digital innovation has been at the core of DHL. And I want to talk to you a little bit about your initiatives that you've undertaken, like real-time tracking or predictive analytics. Can you tell us a little bit about that and how that's really going to enhance customer experience?
See, for our customers, especially DHL Express, the international importers and exporters, what matters to them is tracking and full-time visibility of their shipments, predictable and on-promise delivery. The interfaces with DHL or any of the other stakeholders with whom they have to do business, cross-border business. How do you make those interfaces easy, intuitive, and efficient for them to be able to conduct business? And therefore, a whole host of things which DHL is doing. I think DHL has a suite of platforms available to you. My DHL Plus for shipment preparation.
Yeah.
My Bill has all the documents. My GTS is Global Trade Services. I think it's an outstanding system where an SME who needs to trade to an X country, let's say an African country, goes online, goes to the portal, and gets everything which is there to know about doing business with that country. And we made it free. It is available to everybody, and therefore I think it's an extremely good system. So therefore, host of customer-focused digital platforms which we've created, which is trying to make the life of the customer easy. We can go one step further. There's DHL e-commerce for e-commerce customers in terms of suite of services which is being given to them. Then we're now in the process of rolling out a new product which will come during the end of the year. It's called Ship Now, which is for very ad hoc shippers, small SMEs, or retail customers like you and me to be able to do business with DHL. So therefore, there's a whole host of customer-facing platforms which we are doing. But at the back end, we need to run our global network efficiently. And the data has to travel seamlessly. The documents have to travel seamlessly. The customers' compliances have to be maintained. Everything is digital now. I think in India, almost 70-75% of all shipments which our customers give are now completely paperless. We're trying to go towards a 100% paperless environment. Completely digital. Clearances are fully digital. There's no paper which we are giving to them. I think I keep saying it. I think every year, just by going paperless, we've eliminated nearly 1,000 to 1,500 tons of paper from the system, and it's become digital, easy for customers to do.
Fantastic. So I read an interview of yours where you mentioned that there are certain key sectors that you're focusing on, like life sciences, health, and energy. These are some key sectors that you're prioritizing. Tell me, how are these sectors going to be key growth drivers for DHL?
See, I think I want to give you a 2-minute backstory on this. Okay, every 5 years, DHL pronounces a strategy document which talks about the next 5-year plan of the company, but also the approach and how are we going to do it. It's called strategy. This current pronouncement, Strategy 2030, talks about accelerating sustainable growth.
Sure.
Yeah, sustainability is a big topic there. It talks about 5 influencing trends for the next 5 years and maybe for the next decade, which is one is global trade, second is digitalization, third is e-commerce, but fourth is climate change, and fifth is more important, evolving workforce. Yeah, I think a whole host of generation of workers going away and new set of people are entering organizations, and how do you manage their challenges. But then deriving from these and the whole series of macroeconomic trends which we see, I think there are 5 sectors we think are extremely important for growth. Yeah, one is life sciences and health. Second is new energy, not just energy, but new energy. I'll explain to you what it means. E-commerce, of course, which is a continuing trend. Then there is something called digital sales, which is managing customers who want to be completely digital. How do you manage them endlessly in a sector like logistics? Okay, so how do you provide that service to the customer? But fifth item, which I'm talking, is most important, which is that we call it as countries with geographic tailwinds. Yeah, so there are about 20 countries globally whose economies are growing extra fast, who have shown in the last 5 years or 10 years that They are growing the fastest in terms of global trade. And all our numbers point to them being the drivers of growth in the next 5 years also.
Sure.
So the good news for us is India is possibly number 1 or number 2 in that list. Yeah, there are about 7 countries in Asia Pacific, but India is really topping that list. So therefore, this is our driver, and that's one of the reasons why India is an important market. But for us in India, life sciences and health is an important market because it's already a huge sector in India. New energy is a big thing for India, and e-commerce, of course, is big for India. When we say life sciences and health, I think India is one of the manufacturing bases for a lot of pharma, and more importantly, a lot of clinical trials. And temperature control movement is something which we are significantly focused on. We would like to possibly build a network and build capabilities across the world, and this is going to be one emerging sector for us to focus on in life sciences and health. The second area, and I think there is so much happening in that sector in terms of technologies, stem cells, research, the medical equipments, and the complexity of future medical care and the systems needed for it. The supply chain behind it is equally difficult, and that's an area where DHL can add great value. Similarly, the new energy. When you say new energy, it is solar, wind, and for example, the entire supply chain on for e-vehicles, which is battery logistics. Yeah, battery logistics, something which many countries globally do not have yet. Yeah, they're all discovering their way as electrification of vehicles happen. Yeah, you need to have battery stations, there should be battery manufacturers, storages, swapping of batteries. I think there's a whole host of ecosystem which is needed for e-logistics to take place. And therefore, the new energy talks about solar, new energy talks about wind, new energy talks about battery logistics, and more to come, because there are so many technologies in the pipeline. And this is going to be replacing a lot of existing energy consumption, energy generating devices, and therefore this is going to be a new area for us to focus on. E-commerce is always there, but these two items which you asked, life sciences and new energy, I think it's interesting space to be in.
It's time for a quick break here. We'll be back shortly. Stay tuned. Welcome back. You're watching IDFC First Bank Presents Leaders of Tomorrow Season 12. In conversation tonight with R.S. Subramanian, Senior Vice President, South Asia, DHL Express. Now, sustainability is a topic that we have touched on in our last conversation, and it is a growing, importance in many sectors, including logistics. Tell me a little bit about your Go Green Plus policy. How is that going to, shape your approach towards green logistics? See, DHL made a commitment in the previous 5-year plan, 5 years back, that by 2050 we'll be a zero carbon company. Okay, so and there are some 2030 intermediate guidelines for us to fulfill. So what we plan to do, there are few things which we need to do for ourselves, our scope 1 and scope 2, which we need to manage. And then third is what we together with our customers are adding to the environment, which is scope 3. For our scope 1 and scope 2, we made a few commitments, which is that by 2030 we'll have 2/3 of all our vehicles electric. Sure. Yeah, that's a big step jump. Already I think DHL will be the largest number of electric vehicles on the road for any logistics service provider, and that number will go and catch up, and therefore 66-67% of our vehicles will be electric by 2030. That's a big commitment. The second commitment which we have made is that every facility we are going to build from now on will be zero carbon facility, which is environmental friendly and practices fully recycled water and solar power, etc., etc. And therefore it will be, and we will make our current facilities also carbon neutral for all our major facilities. That's another second commitment. So this talks to about our scope 1 and scope 2 carbon footprint. Yeah. But all of this do not cover more than 30% of the carbon we emit. The largest amount of carbon we emit is in the air when we fly our planes. Yeah, and therefore, and that cannot happen unless the customer is
collaborating with us, correct? So therefore the customers, the shipments are coming wherever he ships, and therefore there is a carbon footprint he leave. But the good point is that our customers are making commitment to go zero carbon like we are making commitments, and their customers are demanding them to have sustainable practices. And therefore there is a sort of the rope is being held tight at both ends, and therefore there needs to be a solution. There is no other solution than Go Green Plus. DHL is the pioneer in the express industry to be able to come out with a product where you as a customer, if you're sending 100 shipments to 20 countries across the world during the year, I'll be able to tell you exactly how much carbon did those shipments emit, and what is it that you need to do to neutralize them. So we'll offer a product which will carry a premium, using which we will neutralize the carbon and give you a certificate that we neutralize the carbon to X extent. And you can sign up to 10%, 20%, 30% neutralization and slowly build your scope 3 correction. How do we do it? We are able to do it because for the aviation, we've signed up to a commitment of building sustainable aviation fuel into our aviation fuel consumption. Our commitment is that by 2030, we'll have 30% of our aviation fuel converted to SAF. Yeah, but SAF doesn't come cheap, and therefore it has to be monetized through a mechanism of customer and DHL being able to share the cost, and that is Go Green Plus product. But what is an amazing story for us, we started selling it in India about less than a year back. Yeah. As we speak now, we have about 8,000 customers, yeah, who signed up to a Go Green Plus offering. Anywhere from 10 to 20, some of them 90% neutralization of the carbon, which the scope 3 emissions of their shipments. And I think this is, our customers are showing us the direction, right? We were skeptical about the market because there's no regulatory frame asking anybody to comply. But I think our customers are in the global market, and therefore they are talking to their customers, and therefore to fulfill their commitments to their export customers, we are able to give them a product which will neutralize it. I think this is the direction to go. I think that our customers are showing the way to the industry actually.
Fantastic. Sir, for this season, our theme is powering entrepreneurs for the global stage. So, all our conversations have the local to global angle. Yeah. And I want to ask you the same question. How is DHL, empowering businesses, especially Indian businesses, to expand their global footprint, to make a mark, across markets? And when I talk about Indian businesses, about MSMEs, how are you helping smaller businesses, go global?
Fantastic. I think you hit the heart of our business. 60 to 70% of our business comes from SMEs, and therefore everything we do, all the systems I spoke about, the processes we spoke about, customer service we do, everything is geared to talk to that small and medium customer whose requirements we need to meet. Yeah, we started on this journey long back when we said, how do we help our SMEs trade globally? So we used to run a series of SME clinics. Then we said, customers are trading, exporting, but they're not fully exploiting the opportunity. Yeah, the best way for them to do is also to become e-commerce enabled. Then we ran a series of clinics which were helping SMEs to go use e-commerce, yeah, get e-commerce and become internet savvy. Yeah. Now recently we've signed up with the DGFT. We've signed an MOU to say that along with DGFT we will partner them in training and equipping SMEs for exports. Yeah, there's a whole curriculum which is being developed. DGFT along with DHL is running a series of outreach programs. I think since we signed it in October, we've done almost 27, 28 programs. Last week we had one in Chikmagalur, and there was one in Mysore, and there was DHL teams on site with DHL, with DGFT, and about 100, 200, 300 SMEs from that cluster, having a conversation to understand what are the challenges, if they want to export, what are the basics they should know, and where is the skill gap, where is the knowledge gap, what is it that they need to do to plug them. So DHL is there on the ground talking to them. This is one series of action which is happening. We are in the process of developing a short training module, maybe 5-10 sessions where SMEs can enroll, and then say, like, now at the end of the course I'll be able to say A to Z I know what to do. in terms of being an exporter. Yeah, so I think so that on day one you're good to go. Yeah, so that's the second part which we are doing. Third part which we are doing is, for example, there was an expression of interest requested by DGFT again, saying that there's something called e-commerce export hub. Yeah, which will help e-commerce exporters to have a more seamless experience in terms of exporting out of the country. It's still in pilot stage. As we speak now, our teams are in, a team of DHL is in Bangalore discussing with a set of SMEs to understand what is the proposition, what are the services needed, how do we set it up, and how do we get it going. So therefore, there's a lot of groundwork happening. Like I said, SMEs at the heart, and anything for SMEs.
Finally, tell me, sir, what is your vision for DHL in the next 5 to 7 years? What are the key, I mean, you spoke about the key priorities, but what is your focus? What is your ultimate focus?
Okay, see, this is interesting. The strategy document and the DHL philosophy talks about 4 bottom lines, yeah, which is to be an employer of choice, to be a provider of choice, to be an investment of choice, and now a green logistics of choice. Yeah. So one is for employees, second is for customers, third is for our stakeholders, shareholders, and fourth is to the environment. I think on all 4 of which, what we want to deliver in the next 3 to 5 to 10 years is very, very clearly outlined. Yeah. In DHL, we say that we said we want to do sustainable growth. Yeah. We say that people and quality deliver growth. All our efforts are towards enabling people. We spoke about evolving workforce. I think we have some fantastic set of programs to ensure that our people are top of the, on top of technology, process, and customer orientation which is needed. You might know we are a global #1 in the Great Places to Work list. Yeah, we have been in the top 5 in India for the last, I don't know, 5, 6, 7 years. So therefore, DHL is a great employer attracting best talent. But the second item is important, quality. Yeah, quality doesn't come easily. Quality comes in our business with infrastructure. Yeah, I think we're creating world-class infrastructure at the airports, facilities to sort shipments, and digitalization and technology we are deploying, and therefore our focus is on delivering the customer service quality which we started talking about. How do you orient your customers and deliver them great service quality?
Sure.
Typically, express industry is expected to grow 1.5 to 2 times the GDP. Yeah, so we've been plus on that on a CAGR basis for the last 10 years. What is our vision? I think we'll continue to maintain that mark.
Fantastic.
That's our ambition.
Fantastic. Well, it was lovely chatting with you, Mr. Subramanian. Thank you so much for being on ET Now Leaders of Tomorrow.
Thank you, Ritwika.
With that, it's a wrap on this episode of IDFC First Bank Presents Leaders of Tomorrow Season 12. We hope you enjoyed the episode. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.